My name is Victor Minjares. I'm an attorney. I've almost been an attorney for 3 decades now. Most of you know me as a civil attorney with a small law practice on the west side. Others may remember me from from the Attorney General's office. But for 15 years, I was a prosecutor down in Los Angeles County doing murders, dual jury trials, robberies, home invasion, all kinds of serious felonies. In addition, I was in the major fraud division where I prosecuted complex crimes involving thefts of over $1 million. The reason I'm here tonight is I'm worried about Thurston County. I do not practice criminal defense law, but I have colleagues and have heard stories and have heard from witnesses and many other people in the community about the way justice is practiced here in Thurston County, and I'm very concerned. I looked for a candidate to support who would be running this year and could find none. I talked to all the defense counsel I could, and I decided if no one else was going to run, then I was going to do it. The reason is this. We have a prosecutor's office that is run no differently than one in the 1930s or 40s. There are no policies. If someone wants to, if a police officer wants to come in and file a case, there's no filing team. There are no filing policies on what they should consider, a prosecutor should consider. There are no restrictions on who can look at it. So a prosecutor who was sworn in the month before, who's never tried a case or maybe just tried a DUI or an assault, can file a murder case here in Thurston County with very little experience. There's no review of that. There's really no policies on what happens after that. When I was a prosecutor, if we had what's called exculpatory evidence, something that showed that somebody tended to be innocent, for example, if a witness went back on their statement, or if it turned out that somebody had lied and we had proof of that, we turned that over immediately. There was no argument. There was no debate. We simply let the defense know, hey, I just talked to this witness. The witness said something very different than what they said in the police report. You may want to interview this witness. There was no question about it. Here in Thurston County, defense counsel are forced to fight for every bit of evidence they get. Tapes are withheld that are clearly relevant to the case and what its value is as far as whether it deserves a guilty plea, a trial, or to be dismissed. It's shocking to me, some of the stories I've heard. And as word is leaked out that I'm running, I've only officially announced last night, but you know how people talk. I've been hearing more and more stories that are really terrifying to me as a former prosecutor. A prosecutor should be about justice. It should be about, are you doing the right thing for the community, for the victim, for the society as a whole? Because putting someone away who is innocent is the worst crime a prosecutor can commit. And everything we do should be to work against that. I don't see that here in Thurston County. And you are going to hear throughout this campaign many stories regarding that. I only have a minute left, so I want to touch on something that I heard a couple of the candidates reference tonight, and that's the lack of money available to the county. 75% of the county's budget is law, courts, and justice. Who has the power to tank any reform that we want to implement to try to save money in the courts and criminal justice system? The prosecutor's office. The prosecutor can tank any reform, either through indifference or through undermining it. And we're seeing that here. We have some diversion programs that look great on paper, but in fact are not being used. The LEAD program is one. Law enforcement assisted diversion. Try to keep people out of the court system. So because courts are expensive. It costs like $9,000 a day to run a courtroom with all the personnel in it. So we want to try and keep people who are suitable out of the system before that. In the 6 to 8 months that the LEAD program has been in operation here in Thurston County, there have been exactly one person who's been through the program. One person. And I've seen sheets and sheets of names of people who could have qualified for that. Help me change Thurston County. I can't do it alone. I need the help of you and other people. Please support me. Thanks. We're going to try and mitigate the harm that has been done in the past. We're going to set up a conviction integrity unit with outside advisors and former counsel and former prosecutors to review convictions that have occurred in Thurston County to mitigate or cure any injustice we can find. Number two, we're going to solve the problems of the present best we can. The courts are plagued by continuances. Over 60% of the people in jail right now, in our overcrowded jail, are there awaiting trial. If you read the report that was done on the courts, it was issued last summer, it's available on the Superior Court website, you'll find that that was the biggest problem that they found within the court, the culture of continuing cases over and over again. Now, it costs about $117 a day to keep someone in custody. I want to take a look also at whether or not we could utilize ERM, electronic monitoring, for a lot of those people and keep them out of the jail and still working but awaiting trial. I want people who spend time in jail or go to prison to actually be convicted of a crime and not awaiting trial whenever possible. Now, last, I want to reinstate a culture of respect in the court here. There's a lot of disrespect shown to defense counsel. There's disrespect shown to the public who comes in to view a trial. And there's disrespect to the rights of defendants. And I think we need to reboot the culture of the Thurston County courts here and do it right away. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
Let's talk about the bail system. The reason there's about 60% of the people in the jail are there simply because they're poor. They can't afford $10,000 bail. Now, you or I, if we got arrested tonight for something, we could post bail. It wouldn't be an issue. It might be a little stretch. We might be a little bit worried about the rent the next month, but it's a problem for a lot of people. Why should those people go to jail, lose their jobs, put their families at risk of becoming homeless just because they're not wealthy? They don't have that extra credit line. They're stretched too thin. They should be on electronic monitoring if they otherwise qualify. First offenders should not be in the county jail for non-serious felonies. And don't get me wrong, I was a hardcore prosecutor in my day, and I've sent many people away for long sentences, but those are for serious crimes. We're talking about how people who are basically innocent before proven guilty are serving their entire sentences before even having a trial, and that's wrong. The question is divert from the jail, but I would argue that the best bang from the buck would be to divert people before they're in the jail. And that's the problem here in Thurston County. There is a program called LEAD, which I mentioned earlier, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, which has been certified and used nationwide in various jurisdictions. I believe it started in Seattle. Now, what happened here in Thurston County is we don't have a real LEAD program. They changed the criteria so that it's not even certified as LEAD, although they're using the name. And what it's intended to do is to take people out of the system in the beginning when they encounter the police, once they realize that the person would otherwise qualify for that. Here in Thurston County, all of the power is in the hands of the prosecutor's office. So the defense attorney, the probation officer, the police, all the social services could agree that someone qualifies for LEAD and should go into LEAD, and the prosecutor can say no. And our prosecutor here in Thurston County is okay with that. One person has completed the LEAD program in the time it's been here, and it's designed to fail. It's going to fail if we don't change things quickly. So I say keep them out of jail before they actually get booked and into jail when that's appropriate. We're not doing that now. We have these programs in name only. They're good for photographs, they're good for headlines, and then they're ignored. And we just can't do that anymore. It doesn't make, it's unjust to these people, but also it doesn't make financial sense. We're paying other jails to house our people. Our jail is so full. That is ridiculous. There is no way a county this size should have to do that. We need to change things. Desire of the community to do justice.